Good morning everyone. Welcome to the second session of order and ranking. Today in the first session we have seen a particular type of questions on order and ranking and developed some very important shortcut techniques and direct formulas for solving questions from order and ranking, where rank of people from top or rank from people from bottom, these are given to you. Now this is a particular session which will be discussing another variety of questions from this topic, where we are comparing people, we are making people or putting them in an order based on height, weight or different aspects. Here we don't have the concept of rank from top or bottom, rather we have a comparison of people with respect to their weight, height or marks or maybe any other aspect. Some number of persons are given to us and a comparison of their different parameters is given to us, and we have to, using those parameters, find out the right order of the people. That is what is this particular session about. So we will be understanding the theory part of this type of question for order and ranking, and mainly through problem discussion. So main objective will be to look at the different problems and understand the different ways in which we can approach those problems. ठीक है, तो प्रॉब्लम डिस्कशन के थ्रू हम लोग मेनली कॉन्सेप्ट डेवलप करेंगे इस टॉपिक के बारे में. ओके, now before we begin, let's see the first question. Here 5 friends A, B, C, D and E have distinct weights. So एक क्वेश्चन लेते हैं यहाँ पे और इसके थ्रू हम देखेंगे सॉल्व क्या कर रहे हैं और क्या करना है इस क्वेश्चन में. ओके, so 5 friends have distinct weights. A is heavier than B, C is lighter than at least one person, D is heavier than E but lighter than B. Who is the heaviest person? Who is the lightest person? ठीक है, let's see. तो हम बोलते हैं A is heavier than B, then it's a very simple way of representing it using the mathematical inequalities. So inequalities देख लेते हैं पहले. First is greater than inequality, right? Next is less than inequality. So mainly we'll be using these two inequalities here, greater than and less than. So A is heavier than B, we can represent like this: A is heavier than B. Okay, so in most of these questions that we will be discussing today, these are the two inequalities that I will be using for comparing people with respect to different parameters, their weight, height, marks, anything. C is lighter than at least one person. Here, that means definitely C is not the heaviest. So we are looking for who is the heaviest. So we can say C is definitely not the heaviest, because C is lighter than at least one person. C can also be the lightest person. At least one person means there can be more than one person who is heavier than C, correct? C is lighter than at least one person. D is heavier than E. D is heavier than E but lighter than B. Okay? D is heavier than E but lighter than B. Now if you join these two equations 1 and 2, we can say A is heavier than B, who is heavier than D, who is heavier than E. So B, D and E can definitely not be the heaviest person. Also we know C is not the heaviest person. So heaviest person कौन है इनमें? Answer is A. A is the heaviest person. So that is the answer for the first question. Now who is the lightest person? What can we say about this? Who is the lightest person? We know A is heavier than B, B is heavier than D. This is given to us. A is heavier than B, B is heavier than D and D is heavier than E. But what about C? C is lighter than at least one person. So obviously we can say C will not come at the top. This is not possible. C cannot be the heaviest one, but C can come in between A and B. C can come between B and D. C can come between D and E, or C can be the lightest of all also. So who is the lightest person? Indeterminable. What will be the answer? Indeterminable, or we can say that the answer can be either C or E. There are only two possibilities. Either E is the lightest person or C is the lightest person. There is nothing else that is possible in this scenario. So, this is the kind of question we are talking about. One question type, you can see clear difference is there between the kind of question we have discussed in the previous session that I did today from 10 to 10:40 based on order and ranking, and this question or these types of questions. Okay. So, here we are talking about inequalities. Using inequalities we are going to solve and find out the order of people with respect to different parameters. One example we have seen now. Let us move on to the next example. M, N, O, P and Q were arranged in the order of their weight. So, again see order of their weight from top in descending order. So, order is from descending order. M becomes third, Q is between P and M. So, let us say there are 5 persons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 persons are there. In decreasing order of weight, in descending order, so decreasing order in weight. So, the first person is the heaviest person, second one is lighter than the first person, and so on, third person, fourth person, fifth person. They are in descending order from heaviest to lightest. 5 persons are there. M becomes third, that is directly given to us that M will be in the third position. Q is between P and M. So, Q can be where? Now, you see here Q can be either here or Q can be here, because Q is between P and M. We do not know where is P. Q is between P and O, and P are not at the top. So, if P is not at the top, you please understand, then Q cannot be here. That means Q will definitely be here. This is the final position for Q, and that means P will be here. O and P are not at the top, that means O cannot come in the first position. So, O will come here. So, what is left now? M, N, O, P, Q. So, N comes in the first position. Just look at the way we have solved, more like an arrangement question. Now, M becomes third. Now, then who among them is the third? That this question, let us not worry. Who among them is the first? So, that should be the question. Who among them is the first? The answer is none of these. The answer is N. Who among them is the first or the heaviest person? The answer is N is the heaviest person. Clear? So, again look at the way we are solving this question, more of an arrangement question than simply an order and ranking, although order is also important in this question. Next, we will go to the next question and see what is being asked in this question. 5 students are there. 5 students participated in an examination and each scored different marks. That is again very important to know, that distinct scores are there, distinct weights, distinct heights, distinct scores. What does it mean? 2 persons do not have the same rank, 2 persons are not at the same position. That is why these things are important to observe and very important, particularly in data sufficiency questions, because in data sufficiency questions we cannot assume that people have distinct scores or distinct weights. It must be either given to you directly in the statement or given to you in the question itself. So, 5 students participated in an examination and each scored different marks. Nidhi scored higher than Mamta. So, let us write it here. Nidhi scored higher than Mamta. Kavita scored, so that is our equation 1. Second one, Kavita scored lower than Prashant. So, Prashant is having greater score than Kavita, but higher than Nidhi. That is our second. Anil's score was between Mamta and Nidhi. So, Anil was between Mamta and Nidhi. So, that is one thing that we have to keep in mind. Anil will be between Mamta and Nidhi. How do we use it later on, that we will see. Which of the following pair represents the highest and lowest scores respectively? First of all, combining the first and second equation. We know that Prashant has scored more than Kavita. Kavita has scored more than Nidhi, and Nidhi has scored more than Mamta. And Anil's score was between Mamta and Nidhi, that means Anil will come in between them. So that means final order will be P, K, N, A and finally M. Which of the following pair represents the highest and lowest scores? Highest is P and the lowest score is M. So Prashant and Mamta, the answer will be answer option D. Just observe the way these questions are being solved. Using inequalities, we'll first form equations, and then by joining those equations, we'll find the order of people based on whichever parameter is given to us. In different scenarios, excuse me, in some cases, some questions we might have to take different cases. जहाँ पे कोई एक फिक्स्ड ऑर्डर नहीं निकलेगा, हम लोग वहाँ पे केसेस लेके देखेंगे कि क्या क्या पॉसिबल ऑर्डर्स है और फिर उन केसेस के थ्रू क्वेश्चंस को सॉल्व करेंगे. क्लियर? दैट इज वन थिंग. नाउ लेट्स टेक वन मोर एग्जांपल हियर. देयर आर 6 पीपल A, B, C, D, E and F, each having different weights. So see, that is why it's always mentioned here. Different weight, distinct weights, or sometimes they will say that such that no two persons have the same weight, right? But जैसे मैंने पहले कहा, डेटा सफिशिएंसी में कभी कभी क्वेश्चंस में नहीं दिया होगा, तो वहाँ पे आप अज्यूम नहीं कर सकते हैं कि सबका वेट अलग है. अगर वो क्वेश्चन के साथ जो स्टेटमेंट्स है उसमें मेंशन नहीं किया हुआ है तो आंसर फिर वहाँ पे डेटा इनएडिक्वेट भी हो सकता है. क्लियर? So there are 6 people, 6 persons A, B, C, D, E and F, each having different weights, each having distinct weights, such that no two persons weigh the same. A is heavier than F but lighter than B. E is heavier than C but lighter than A. B is lighter than D. C is not the lightest. The third lightest person weighs 50 kilograms, while the second heaviest person weighs 62 kilograms. Who among the following may be of 56 kilograms? Right? Now we'll see here. Let's take 50 kilograms here. I think some data mistake is here. 50 kilograms in weight. That means the third lightest person weighs 50 kilograms. So who is the third person? Lightest person. So 6 persons are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Let us say we are ranking them from heaviest to lightest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. The third lightest person means, who is the third lightest person? This is the third lightest person, weighs how much? 50 kilograms. And the second heaviest person, who is the second heaviest person? This person is the second heaviest person, and this person weighs how many kilograms? 62 kilograms. So we have to find who is in the second position, who is in the fourth position, what is the order of the people here in the given question. So there are 6 people A, B, C, D, F. A is heavier than F. So let's start making our inequations. A is heavier than F but lighter than B. So that is one thing that we get, BAF. Clear? A is heavier than F but lighter than B. The second is E is heavier than C but lighter than A. E is heavier than C but lighter than A. That is our second equation. So now third one, is B is lighter than D, that means D is heavier than B, B is lighter than D, C is not the lightest, so this person will not be C, C is not the lightest. The third person weighs 50 kilograms while the second heaviest person weighs 62 kilograms. So, how do we combine all of these equations? We see here that D is heavier than B. So, using the first equation and the third equation, if we combine them, we can very clearly, without any doubt, we can say that D is heavier than B and B is heavier than A and A is heavier than F. D is heavier than B, B is heavier than A and A is heavier than F, and we also know that A is heavier than E and C. A is heavier than E and E is heavier than C, but we do not know where will E and C come. Will they come below F or above F, or will F be between E and C? This understanding we do not have. First thing is very clear that E, F and C are going to be in the last three position, E, F and C in the last three positions and D, B, A in the first three positions. So, we can say that D is the heaviest person, B is in the second position, A is in the third position. Now, who is left here? E is left, F is left and C is left. C cannot come in the last position. C cannot come in the second position after A also, because E is heavier than C. That means what will come here? E will come here, C will come here and finally F will come here. That will be the final order. So, what is the answer now? You look at the answer. Who among the following may be of 56 kilogram in weight, right? So, answer options here we have the 50 kilograms of weight is E. So, answer is E. If we take this question as 50 kilograms, then the answer will definitely be. If I take it as 56 kilograms, then the answer can be either maybe of. That means only now, yeah, it's correct. This one should be actually 56 kilograms. Sorry, it will be actually 56 kilograms. Now, there is a reason why and how we will get the answer, because see, D second person has 62 kg weight. The first person is more than 62, E is having 50. So, there is only one person here whose weight can be between 50 and 62, and that one person is A. So, answer is A. Who among the following is of 56, who can be or who is of 56 kg weight? Answer is A. They ask who is of 50 kg weight, then the answer is E. Now, look at the final order DBA ECF, DBA ECF. So, we have got here D, B, A, E, C, F. Okay. How many persons are, same question, this is the subset of the same question. How many persons are heavier than C? Answer is 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 persons heavier than C. So, the order is DBA ECF. So, D, B, A, E, C, F, out of which second person is 62 kgs and third person is 50 kgs, right. So, which of the following may represent the weight of A? The weight of A can be cannot be 48, because A is between 50 and 62. That is the point of this question. It can't be 62 because it is less than 62, more than 50. It can't be 63 because it is less than 62 and more than 50. So, the answer will be, which of the following may represent the weight of A? The answer is 61 kg. That will be the answer for this particular question. So, again see how the puzzle was created, and this is the kind of question you expect in today's difficulty level in the IBPS prelims, PO, prelims or mains, right. So, that is how that is one very good example of a question based on order and ranking. Now, let us see the question from previous session, contest question. So, Ajay's rank in the class from the top is 20 and Kunal's rank from the bottom of the class is 34. Ajay's rank from the top is given to you and Kunal's rank from the bottom is given to you, but what is not given to you is the number of students. The number of students is not given. So, what is the minimum number of students in the class? Now, you see the minimum case, if suppose it is a question based on minimum or maximum, we can say the minimum number of students in the class will be 34, because Kunal's rank from the bottom is 34. The highest possible rank from Kunal from the top can be 1, correct. So, Kunal, who could be the best position for Kunal could be the first position, could be the 34th from the bottom. That means the minimum number of students in the class will be equal to 34. That is always equal to this, whichever value is higher, that value will become the answer. Okay. Now, second thing is, suppose they ask the same question, if suppose someone is asking you what is the maximum number of students in the class, if nothing is mentioned, the number of students between Ajay and Kunal cannot be predicted, it can be any number of students. So, maximum is indeterminable. There is no way of finding out what is the maximum, or we can say that maximum is infinite. There can be as many students as possible between Ajay and Kunal, clear. Where Ajay's rank from top is 20 and Kunal's rank from bottom is 34. Now, let us see the next question, that is the contest question for this session. 5 students A, B, C, D and E appeared in an exam and got distinct marks. So, no two of them scored the same marks. A got more marks than D, C got more marks than A but less than B. Who got the maximum marks among the 5 students? Okay, who got the maximum marks among the 5 students? A very similar question we have discussed earlier in this session. By using the same inequality technique, forming equations and combining equations, you can find out who has got the maximum marks among the 5 students. Right? So, try out solving this question, and you should be able to solve these kind of questions in not more than 30 to 40 seconds. Okay. So, within 30 seconds, if you can solve, very good. So, solve the question and post the answer in the comment section below. Right. I will be discussing the solution for the contest question in my next video session. So, to continue with the topic of order and ranking, excuse me, let us see another question which is based on order and ranking, based on the kind of the variety of questions that we are discussing today. Among 6 friends P, Q, R, S, T and U, P is taller than U but shorter than R, S is shorter than exactly one person in the group, that person is not R. Q is taller than at least 2%, T is taller than P. Who is the second shortest person in the group? So, let us say that there are these 6 persons, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the 6 persons, and in the decreasing order of height, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, 1 being the tallest and 6 being the shortest. P is taller than U but shorter than R, that is our first equation. P is taller than U but shorter than R. S is shorter than exactly one person in the group, that means only one person can be taller than S, that directly tells you that S will be in this second position, because no one else should be taller than S except exactly one person in the group. That person is not R. That person is not R. So R cannot come here. So R, P and U all will come below S. R, P and U all must come below S, and there are two possibilities: R in the third one, P in the fourth and U in the fifth one, or could be this, or we can have R, P, U, or we can do R in 3, P in 5 and 6, U in 6. Okay, let's see. Now Q is taller than at least 2 persons and T is taller than P. So T has to come, T is taller than P. T is taller than P. That means T is taller than P and P is taller than U. So we have this also, one equation we are getting here. T is taller than T is taller than P, and what we know is that Q is taller than at least 2 persons. So Q cannot come in this position, Q cannot come in this position. So where can Q come, right? Q is taller than at least 2 persons. Okay, so let's see here. One possibility could be that Q is here. If Q is here, right, and we know T is taller than P and R is taller than P and U, clear? R cannot come here, so R can come in this position. That means P will come in this position and U will come in this position. That only makes possible that T is in the first position. So that is one possibility. Is there any other possibility or not? That we can see here below. So what we know for sure is that S is in the second position, R, P, U will come to the right of S, Q is taller than at least 2 persons, so Q cannot be in this last 2 positions, right. So if I put Q here, Q in the third position, then what can happen? Then we put R here, P here and U here, that is also possible. In this case also T can be in the first position, right. That is one case. So there are two cases which are already there in this particular situation. Both are ascertaining to whatever is there in front of us. Now maybe we can take one more situation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We know S is here. We know Q can also be in this position because Q is taller than at least 2 persons. T is taller than P. Okay. T is taller than P. So yeah, you can also say that T is here, R, P and U is here. T is taller than P. You can also say this is Q, this is S. T is taller than P, so we can put R here, T here, P here and U here. So we are getting a total of 1, 2, 3 and 4 different scenarios. All of these are agreeing to what we have. First one is R is taller than P, P is taller than U, correct, and T is taller than P and U, that is also correct. S is shorter than exactly 1 person, that 1 person is not R. Q is taller than at least 2 persons in all these cases. So 1, 2. Who is the second shortest in the group? In all of these cases that we have taken, different things are changing from one case to another, but one thing is fixed, and that is P is the second shortest person. P is the second shortest person in the group. This is constant in all the cases, so answer will be P. Now if you go to second, if Q is shorter than R, who is the tallest in the group? Now you see here, if Q is shorter than R, that happens only in one case, case number 1. You see, in other cases Q is taller than R. In this case also Q is taller than R. In this case also Q is taller than R. There is only one case in which Q is shorter than R, which is in the first case, so if Q is shorter than R, who is the tallest in the group? So if you refer to the case here, who is the tallest in the group? That is T. So what is the answer? T. That is what we are talking about, taking cases and solving the question, right? Very important to understand this case based solving, so that you can solve questions efficiently and get the answers without any difficulty. Okay. Now let us take this question. 8 persons are to be ranked according to the weight. So there are 8 persons now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ranked according to their weight. Let us say A is the heaviest person, that is first rank is the heaviest person, and 8th rank is the lightest person. The heaviest person gets a rank of 1 and the lightest person gets a rank of 8. No two persons weigh the same, that means everyone has distinct weight. A is heavier than C, so let us start forming our equations. A is heavier than C. Who is heavier than F? So who here refers to whom? C. So A is heavier than C. Who is heavier than F? So we get our first equation. B is heavier than D. Who is lighter than F? So B is heavier than D. Who here means D, and D is lighter than F. So F is heavier than D. So we have our second and third equation. Now E weighs more than H. E weighs more than H but less than C. E weighs more than H but less than C. That is our fourth equation here. G weighs more than 2 persons. G weighs more than 2 persons. That means G will be in the 6th position. G weighs more than 2 persons. D is not the lightest, so the last position will not be D. Who among them is the lightest person? Let's understand this. Who among them is the lightest person? Combining 1 and 3, A is heavier than C, C is heavier than F, and F is heavier than D. B is also heavier than D, B is also heavier than D. So there are 4 persons, 1, 2, 3, 4 who are heavier than D, and C is heavier than E and H. So C is heavier than E and H. C is heavier than E, who is heavier than H. So if you see here 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 persons are lesser than A and C, and G is in the second position. G is in the second position, so G is there. So the heaviest person will become A. The heaviest person will become A, and who will be the lightest person? You see here, D is not the lightest person, B is not the lightest person. So let's try to understand here. If I write down here A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. A is not the lightest person, B is not the lightest person, C is not the lightest person, D is not lightest, E is not lightest, F is not lightest, G is not lightest. So who will be the lightest here? H. So answer for this question is H. That is one thing that we can definitely answer just from this much information, without having to understand or trying to fill the remaining part of the table. Who among them is the lightest person? Now who among them is definitely heavier than G? The question is, who among them is definitely heavier than G. So, G is heavier than 2 persons, and that person who is heavier than G, if you look at the answer options, D cannot be that person, because D himself is lighter than 1, 2, 3 and 4 persons, right. Who is definitely heavier than G? E is heavier than H. E is heavier than H, so E could come here, that is also one possibility. So, E can't be that person, right. And what about F? So, if you look at F, F is heavier than D, F is heavier than D, and E is weighs more than H but less than C. So, yes, A, C, E, H should be there. So, the answer will become F. Who among them is definitely heavier than G? The answer will become F. So, again you have to look at the order and see how we can place them, what are the different cases possible in this scenario, and based on that you have to predict who will definitely be heavier than this person, what are the different cases. Now, making for 8 persons, taking 8 cases, not very practical in the examination, but if you work it out you will get the answer. So, the answer for 1 is C, answer for 2 is also C, and with this we complete the class for today of how to solve questions on order and ranking. Both varieties of questions we have discussed. In the first session we had discussed questions based on rank from top, rank from bottom, rank from left and right. In the second video we have seen this inequality based questions from order and ranking. So, now the time for the class practice pack. Those who have access to class practice pack, if they are passport member, you can start solving the CPP once you hear the sound. There are 10 questions in the CPP based on order and ranking of this type of question we have discussed, inequality. Solve the questions, and the question which most of you get wrong I will be discussing in my next session. So, best of luck to you. Thank you.